Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Break. Today, my special guest is Cathy, who's our assistant director and our resident cozy mystery expert. So today, Cathy and I are going to talk about some cozy mysteries that we've read recently that we recommend.
Yes.
And we also just started using a cozy mystery sticker here on the book. So if you are a cozy fan, you can come in and now it helps you differentiate like what's a regular mystery, what's a cozy mystery.
Awesome.
Yeah, so.
Nice. I'll have to take a look. I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to
Yes,
take
it
a
has
look
like
at
a
it.
little mug of or a cup of coffee on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Okay,
Very
great.
cozy. So,
Fantastic.
are you a seasonal cozy reader? Like,
Oh no, I read cozy all year round.
Okay,
All year round.
a lot of them are series. Do you have to do your series in order?
I do.
Okay.
Unless I've picked up one and read it and realized it's a series, and
Right.
I have to go back and start from the beginning because
Okay.
I want to be able to know how it all started
Yeah.
and then watch it kind of continue and grow. So,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times they have characters, and some of them, like one of the ones I'm talking about today, is a spin-off from another series, I
neat. Oh,
gather.
that's a great idea.
Which I haven't read that one. But,
Okay.
But this one was pretty funny.
Neat.
So I will start out. So this one is Peg and Rose Solve a Murder by Lorian Benson. And this one is funny. It's two sisters-in-law, Peg and Rose. Peg she shows standard poodles, and she also judges dog shows. Rose, however, is an ex-nun.
Oh, interesting.
She married a once priest, and now they have a women's shelter in their town. So they are running the women's shelter and, living there. And these two have been estranged. They kind of had a rough start in their relationship.
Okay.
Like, of course, Peg was married to her brother. And when she met her, Rose was a novice, and she was I'll just say a little on the judgy side.
Sure.
So these two women have been estranged for a while, but now Peg's husband has passed away, and Rose decides that, she's going to get her back in her life, and she wants to join this bridge club. And she
that's a nice
knows that
idea.
Peg used to play bridge in college, so she thinks this will be a good way for us to connect.
Exactly.
So I do kind of like the way they brought them together, and they did have a conversation. I don't want to really say what it was about, but
Sure.
it wasn't just glossing over it. They did have a
Kind of a heart-to-heart. And
yeah, a
figure out
heart-to-heart and
why-
reconciliation,
yeah, good.
and then it really made me like these two characters better.
Oh, nice.
So, of course, they barely had a chance to celebrate their first win at the Bridge Club when one of the most accomplished players ends up dead.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, in his home. So, as the newest members, these two sister-in-laws, of course, are the object of scrutiny.
Yes.
And, of course, they decide they're going to start investigating, because that's one of the hallmarks of a cozy is you have an amateur.
Yep. Who
that
thinks
is-
they know what's going to happen, and
Right.
they can figure it out much faster than the police ever
Yeah.
will.
So it's funny how they start looking into, of course, all the different people that are in the bridge club. And naturally, there are secrets amongst the
course.
members. A lot of the relationships that seem so nice on the surface, of course, are not. So they do find the killer. But I listened to this one on Hoopla. I
Okay.
really liked the narrator, and I definitely would plan to continue with this series.
Oh, good.
I liked the characters a lot. I thought it was fun, but there was still enough mystery in it. And I really liked the dog show storylines. I'm not a huge poodle fan, but I
Right.
still liked her dedication to it. And you kind of learn a little bit about that life too.
Okay.
And the fact that Rose and her husband run that shelter for
Sure.
domestic violence in their Connecticut town. So all in all, I would give Peg and Rose Solve a Murder 2 thumbs up.
Oh, good.
And recommend it. And definitely, I've already started the second one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
so-
It's good when you find one and then you realize there's more, and you're like, okay, how is the storyline? How are the characters going to develop?
I know.
So,
and especially
nice.
when sometimes an audiobook, if I start listening to it, if the narrator isn't right to me.
Oh, yes. The narrator
can't
can
do
make
it.
or break it.
Yeah. So this one I listened to in a car trip, and I almost was done, and I'm like, should I drive around like another
Should I
loop?
go to the gas station for a little bit and come back?
Yeah, because I
That's too
just
funny.
wanted to finish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I often do the same thing. I often listen to a lot of cozies, but then I read some too. Kind of depends on what format I can get it in
Yeah.
quickest, if it's the next one I want to read. But one of the ones I chose the title's called Ashes to Ashes, Crust to Crust. And it is a deep dish mystery series by Mindy Quigley. So this particular book is second in the series, and who doesn't love a good pizza, let alone a deep dish pizza?
Yeah.
So it's set in Geneva Bay, Wisconsin, which of course is based on a real life town out there. It's a charming resort town, and it was made famous by the mobsters.
Really?
Yes. And it's also the playground for the rich and famous. So I'm sure that, there's mobster tie-ins, there's rich and famous, and it's a vacation destination. So
Well, that sounds fun.
She thinks this will be the perfect spot for her deep dish pizza gourmet shop. Delilah is our sleuth, and she just opened her gourmet pizza shop with her fiance.
Okay.
Turns out her fiance is bankrolling the whole thing because he's independently wealthy. But then there was a little bump in the road, and they're no longer together.
Oh, no.
So Delilah gets dumped, and now she has to figure out, along with being dumped, she loses financing for the
her
restaurant.
pizza shop.
So how does she continue to make this work? The first couple months were great because it was summertime, but now we're going into the winter time, and pizza on the lake doesn't always sound as great as pizza on the lake in the summertime.
Right.
So she and her cat, Butterball, and her great aunt all live in the same spot, so that makes for an interesting living situation. But then she doesn't know what to do when she starts finding dead bodies.
Oh.
So she just doesn't know what to do. So she starts with her staff. She talks some things out with her great aunt. Her cat even plays a role in helping her. She randomly drops things at her feet, and she's like, "What's this?" And it turns out that somehow it's a clue to what's
Right,
happening,
to the
which is kind
crime.
of funny.
Yeah.
She has a love interest, as a lot of the cozies do, and it's a local detective who has ties to Al Capone, no less.
okay.
Yes, he's a distant relative. And it's considered a slow burn romance. I realized there was different types of romances throughout them, and the romance will gradually unfold over the course of the series.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting too. So in this book, in Ashes to Ashes, Crust to Crust, and I love it when they take, I can't remember what the name of it is, an allusion?
Well, yeah.
An alliterative title.
Right. A
Where they
lot of them have puns.
Exactly. Maybe it was
too,
puns.
So
she's newly single, trying to figure out how to make things work, when the Taste of Wisconsin contest comes along, and she thinks, this is the ticket. If I just win the Taste of Wisconsin, I'll win money, and I can keep my restaurant afloat. However, now her ex-fiance is now dating a juice bar owner.
who's
Yes.
also in the contest.
Who is also in the contest and her main competitor. But unfortunately, a juice bar customer dies as they're prepping for this contest. And now Delilah becomes involved. There are also celebrity chefs involved in this contest and being the judges, but then there's a whole background story about, competition between other judges and things like that. And there's also some missing dough, but we don't know if that's missing pizza dough or missing cash. So I kind of figure what could go wrong
Right.
in a story like that. So, and in this particular series, they provide recipes.
Oh,
So
nice.
I like that when they talk about something and then they describe how they make it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I knew how to make that. Now you do.
Oh, that
it was
sounds
fun.
fun.
I really enjoy it.
Oh, good.
So,
Well, my second one was billed as a cozy mystery, and to me, it wasn't that cozy. It could have
Okay.
been a little cozier, but it starts out. It's about a former nun. So I don't know why I'm on a nun tear here,
Right.
people. This was not intentional, but I did go to Catholic school. But anyway, she is at the convent, and there was a novice that left the convent, but she used to write her on a regular basis.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the novice suddenly says that all the residents of her boarding house are keeping secrets, and then her letters mysteriously stop. So, our nun, her name is Nora, Nora Breen, she decides to leave or take a leave from the convent and find out and investigate what happened to her novice, because she just
Sure.
thinks that something has gone wrong. So it's set in the 1950s in
okay.
a seaside town in Kent. The atmosphere and the suspicious characters are always trying to throw you off. You know,
Yes.
the boarding house is definitely filled with, one man has a bunch of like Punch and Judy, like puppets, which I find creepy.
Yes,
But, you
I would
know.
agree.
And a mother with a daughter that is running the boarding house, but you know that there's a secret there. There's no husband. And Nora herself, you find out what motivated her to enter the convent.
Oh,
And there
okay.
were some things in her life that happened that weren't that great. And that was one reason it's like, normally cozies don't get me upset. But,
Right?
You
Or
know,
don't delve deep into really
Right.
challenging topics sometimes.
But she is like trying to reinvent herself, and that
Okay.
was really interesting to see. So of course, you don't just have the missing,
Right.
correspondent. Suddenly there are bodies piling up at the boarding house.
Yes.
Another young couple that lives there, the young husband is poisoned one day in the tea shop, like in, trying to work, and then the puppet guy goes and
Of course.
so now Nora is trying to work with the young inspector in
Oh, okay.
town. And I kind of feel like this one was billed as the first in a series, and I'm almost wondering, like, is this going to end up being a romantic relationship?
What's
Right,
it called,
yeah.
Claire? What's the
This
name?
one is called Murder at Gull's Nest by Jess Kidd. Did I forget to say that? Okay, and it just came out on
Oh, okay.
March 11th, so I read it fairly recently. But so you might have a romantic relationship, you have this ex-nun, and definitely a mystery. And she does end up solving everything.
Okay. Nice.
And it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, okay.
But
Sometimes when you kind of think you know the path it's going to go down because they kind of follow a formula, and it's
Right.
interesting sometimes when they deviate just a little bit from that formula.
Right. But I think I might read another book because Nora was kind of interesting to me.
All right.
So,
Nice.
so now I'm reading about two cozy mystery series that involve nuns. But-
I always wonder when the bodies start to pile up, I think, and they never seem terribly concerned.
Oh, I know.
I'm just going to go solve it. Not
Yeah.
wow, this is the fourth dead body I found. Maybe I should move, but
Maybe this isn't a good place for my pizza shop. you know?
exactly. The next book I wanted to talk about is called Murder at Beechwood, and it is part of the Gilded Newport Mysteries series by Alyssa Maxwell.
Oh, that sounds like a fun setting.
It is. It is the third book in the series. And I recently visited Newport, Rhode Island,
Mm-hmm.
so that was part of the tie-in for me. I was like, I got to see all the mansions listed, so there's a book based on each mansion.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of interesting for me to have been to to been to Beechwood, and then read about a story that happened there.
Okay.
And it was very cool about this. So the series starts out in 1895, Newport, Rhode Island, and it delves around the Vanderbilt families and all their drama, and it was fascinating to listen to their stories. They really had some family issues and some things they dealt with, and you think, wow, that could have been a TV series type thing. Turns out, and some of the books too are based on the Gilded era, the
Okay.
TV show. So Emma, or Emmeline as her more well-off relations call her, Cross is our sleuth. She is a second cousin to Cornelius Vanderbilt, and she is considered the poor relation.
Oh, my.
She does not live, she lives on the other side of town. She has her own home because she was given it, but she's not considered the wealthy part of the family. In this, they explore the darker side of the 19th century elite families and society, things that were happening. So Emma's a reporter, which is an unusual occupation for a woman at that time. Unfortunately, all her, I think as with what happened in real life, all of her articles are published under a man's name when they get in. She keeps arguing with her editor, and he keeps saying, maybe. He never does. And unfortunately, when articles are assigned to her, she's assigned the society pages.
Okay.
Because of her connections, they think she has information, she'll be able to
Right.
talk about the dresses and all that. She's not very happy, but she does it because at least then her work's getting out into the newspapers. She has a love interest, and actually she has 2 love interests.
Oh.
Each from a different walk of life. So
Okay.
there is Derek, who is from the nobility side, and then there is Jessie, who is the police officer, who's kind of more in her station in life. So it'll be interesting to see as the series progresses
What lifestyle she chooses.
to go with. Yes. So Murder at Beechwood is set in the summer of 1896, and Emma discovers a baby wrapped in a blanket outside her doorstep.
Oh,
Like, you don't hear many of those. Like, you just think, oh, and she hears the baby, they take care of it. They fall in love with the little guy. But then her reporter instincts kick in and she goes, well, where did this baby come from? Who is the
Right.
baby's mother? So that starts her thinking. So she decides she's going to use her reporter skills to find this out. As she's starting to find this out, a gentleman who's driving a carriage, unbeknownst to them, dies. So she's like, well, I wonder if that person had any connection, like, was he dropping the baby off and then trying to escape unseen? And then, unfortunately, during a sailboat race at her aunt's mansions, somebody goes overboard and dies. They're not sure whether it was an accident or whether somebody purposely pushed the person off the boat to kill them.
the plot
So,
thickens.
It does. And unfortunately, both of her love interests are involved in this. So Derek is considered a prime suspect, and Jessie is the officer who's investigating everything. So that makes for a unique,
Oh, this one sounds fun. I might have to delve into this.
It is a good one. So, and I think what I liked about it is, again, like having seen some of the real mansions and then hearing about stories that take place in them. That was neat because I could picture it in my mind more than I could just reading about it.
I haven't been there, but I've seen the Vanderbilts had a mansion in Asheville, North Carolina,
Yes.
the Biltmore, and that is really cool to see
Yes,
too.
that's on my bucket list of places to visit.
Oh, you would love it.
Yeah.
I've been at Christmas because every room is
yes.
decorated
Yep.
at Christmas, and also during the summer. So,
Oh, okay. Nice. Awesome.
So yeah, I'm going to have to put that one on my list.
Yes.
So my last one is Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man.
Ooh, I
So,
like it.
Yes, and Vera Wong, I actually read the first one of hers, and I absolutely love this character. The first one I listened to,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes when you're listening, you feel like you're part of a story. I was just
Yes.
laughing out loud at some of it.
Oh, nice.
So this one I read.
Okay.
But Vera Wong is back. She is meddling as ever, and her first book was called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers.
Oh.
She has a tea room I believe it's in San Francisco.
Okay.
So ever since a man was found dead in her tea house, which started her out,
Right.
life has been good for Vera. She's surrounded by loved ones, her shop is bustling, and best of all, her son, Tilly, has a girlfriend. All thanks to Vera, because Tilly's girlfriend is none other than Officer Selena Gray, and the very same officer that harassed her while she was investigating the tea house
Oh,
murders.
funny.
So she wishes more dead bodies would pop up in her shop, but one mustn't be ungrateful.
That's an interesting
even
view.
if she's bored. So when she comes across this young woman who is obviously in need of her guidance, she's looking for a missing friend. She's outside the police station. She's not sure whether to go in, and she ends up being afraid and not going in. So, of course, Vera's like, I have to reach out and help
course.
her. So, and then while cat sitting at Tilly's and Selena's house, she finds a treasure in Selena's briefcase. Inside is a file about the death of of a young man who was a social media influencer who happens to be the friend that this young woman was looking for. So, online, Xander was his name, had a parade of private jets, parties with socialites, career as the social media influencer. The only problem is once they find the body, the police can't really identify him. So who is Xander Lin? Was he who he said he was? No one knows. Every contact is a dead end. Everyone claims not to know him, even his own parents. So Vera is determined to now solve Xander's murder. After all, it would surely be a big favor to her daughter-in-law, and there's nothing she wouldn't do for her daughter-in-law.
Nice.
So she is very inquisitive, she's very meddling, but she's also very funny, and she manages to draw people in from her different investigations and create almost like that found family.
Sure,
So if
yep.
you like those kind of stories, you would definitely like Vera Wong.
Oh, nice.
The first book was hysterical because she was like trying to find someone for her son.
Oh,
who
okay.
He might be an attorney. And
Oh, yeah.
so she's always trying to figure out like how to get someone to message him on Instagram or something. She's just,
Like, I know I have somebody. Just
Yes.
email him or call him or whatever.
slide into his DMs. And to hear
Exactly.
this older woman talk about that is just funny. So this novel is told from like 5 different points of view from
Oh,
some of the
wow.
different characters,
Okay.
so that's a lot. But each one kind of gives you insights into Vera and her life. So it definitely looks like this series is going to progress.
Oh, nice.
And Vera also used to compete a little bit with, there's a lady with a pastry shop near her tea shop,
okay. Mm-hmm.
who she kind of like was jealous of and fought a little bit with in the first book. But now it looks like they're getting to be friends.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I think they may be headed to Paris or doing something exciting
Oh,
for their
fun.
next adventure. But
Nice.
yeah, I definitely recommend Vera Wong to
Oh, it sounds
anyone that
good.
likes these cozy
I'm
mysteries.
going to have to try that one. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
yeah.
So the next series I want to talk about, it turns out they were all series, is The Secret Bookcase Mysteries, and they're by Ellie Alexander, excuse me. And I have listened to every single one so far.
Oh wow.
They're all available on Hoopla. I've listened to them all. There's The Body in the Bookstore, A Murder at the Movies, Death at the Dinner Party, A Holiday Homicide, A Victim at Valentine's. And my family always says, why are cozy mysteries set around the holidays? Like, you would think that would be contradictory. I'm like, they bring festiveness in,
Right.
but somehow the death doesn't seem so.
There was one I got for a patron the other day, and it was like the bridal shower murder or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's part of the,
Yeah.
I don't know, charm or whatever, especially
Exactly.
if they have recipes and stuff in
Yes,
them, which I think a
definitely.
lot of them do.
Yeah. So this is nice. It's set in Redwood Grove, California, and it's in an Agatha Christie themed bookshop.
Ooh.
So it's a converted manor house, and the bookstore is called The Secret Bookshop. And yes, it has a hidden secret room. And Hal, who's the owner, actually believes he is a descendant of Agatha Christie and spends a lot of his outside time trying to figure that out and make connections. He's been to England several times, but he's adamant that he is a descendant of Agatha Christie. Annie Murray is our main character here, and she's our sleuth. She is currently a bookseller at the bookshop, but she's also a former criminology student. And she was a criminology student, graduated, and the day before graduation, her best friend is killed.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of puts a little kibosh on what she thought she wanted her career to be, and she decided to just change gears completely and become a bookseller. But as we go through the series, her criminology background becomes more and more helpful as she starts to find these bodies and she starts to solve all these mysteries. So she's going to become a profiler and then chooses not to. And guilt over the death of her friend leads her to just abandon that career and go into the bookshop. As the series goes along, she has to try and decide, does she want to be a bookseller? Because she has the opportunity at some point to buy the bookstore from the owner.
Okay.
Or does she want to go back into criminology? And she's torn because Dr. Caldwell, who was her mentor and professor, has somehow become the lead investigator here in this tiny town that she ended up in. I always find that funny when, these random people in your life all of a sudden become like, oh,
Yeah.
look, you're here.
Yes.
So it's always fun. She also has a love interest, and that's Liam, and he's a local restaurant owner. So in the first book, Body in the Bookstore, Annie's job is she creates a mystery fest. And what she wants to do is involve the whole town. So the coffee shop does all sorts of murder-based drinks and
Okay.
mystery-based drinks and different themes like that. So different parts of the community all get involved. The restaurant offers mystery dishes and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of to expose all the, help all the local vendors and get some exposure and get people to come visit their town. But then a murder happens in the bookstore during the festival.
Of course it does.
Yes. And Annie and her former professor, Dr. Caldwell, start investigating. So it's always fun to see, especially in a series of like this, and I've read them all, is like you start rooting for the characters. Like, do you want them to get involved, or you think should she go into criminology, or should she just keep to selling the bookstore? So it's always interesting. I like the characters, the relationships, and kind of how the story plays out. There's one book left in the series, and it's coming out in June. So I don't know what I'm going to do when they're all done. I'll have to find another series to read.
Yeah.
So
do some of the authors you like have multiple series?
It seems like a lot of them do.
Yeah.
So Jen McKinley has a couple. They all seem series based. I've rarely found what I consider a standalone. Cozy. Yeah. So yeah, most of them have, and I like that because if I like the series, then I want to read more. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, that sounds good.
So as the series progresses too, we also decide, is she going to be by the bookstore, or is she going to decide to keep honing her criminology skills and find things out? So yeah. Those are all. I can't recommend like one. I just recommend them all because they're just so much fun.
Well, reading a series is fun.
Yes.
Especially if you find a character, whatever, that you can either identify with or, like you say, root for. Mm-hmm. That makes such a huge difference.
And so many of them recently, you can find a cozy mystery just about any interest you have. Mm-hmm. Like there's one on gardening, and there's crafting, and there's all different things. So there's always a connection. I always find a connection that way. I'm like, oh, I like to craft. And so you read about this one, or I read one about somebody who was bicycling. And I'm like, oh, I ride my bike, that type of thing. So it's always interesting to find things that way.
Yeah, that is.
So
I remember the last time you were here, you brought up one that was like cheese-based.
Yes, exactly.
And I think I had one about a coffee cart owner, so.
Yes, there's always food, seems to be always food involved.
Always food, and a lot of times, like you say, there's a pet or something, too.
Yes.
And sometimes the pet has special powers.
Yep,
so.
Definitely.
So did you have any other ones for us today?
The only other one I have is a new one, and this may be a standalone, I'm not sure yet. And it's called The Gardener's Plot, and it's by Deborah Benoit. So it's the debut book by this author, just came out earlier this year. And it's set in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. And again, I used to live in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, so I always find it fascinating when I find a tie like that.
I drive through there.
There you go.
Yeah, see my daughter. So.
And so I love that part of the country. It also focuses around gardening, which is a hobby of mine. So Maggie Walker inherits she buys her grandmother's home and moves back to the place that holds a lot of fond memories for her. Mm-hmm. She was pretty much raised by her grandmother, and so she enjoys spending time there. So life has been a little bumpy for Maggie. So she comes back home, buys her grandmother's house, and kind of starts to settle in and start life over. So she joins, in order to get used to the community that she's in, she joins a community garden. They decide they're going to set up a community garden. She works with her neighbor Violet to set this up. And it's the day of the grand opening, where all the gardeners are going to come and get their plots.
Oh no!
They're waiting because Violet's really in charge, and they're waiting. And some people are hemming and hawing because, like, come on, it's 10 o'clock. We said we were going to open, so she keeps waiting for Violet to show up, and Violet doesn't show up.
Oh no! Please don't say.
So she decides to open the community garden anyways. But then they notice something's afoot. They're like, but why is that bed all lumpy and they're all manicured very nicely except for one. So she goes over to look, and she sees a boot sticking out of the garden bed. And
Please tell me it's not Violet.
It's not Violet.
Okay.
So they do find a body, but for the longest time, she has no idea. All she knows is that there's a body there, and she has to call the police.
Yeah.
So it takes her a long time to figure out who the dead person is. So they figure that part out. But then they keep waiting for Violet to show up. And she keeps calling Violet, and Violet's not answering. And so and the police are trying to find her. So they're confused because they're like, has she run away? Was she part of the murder? Like, what happened? So she starts investigating with her friend Sally, her next door neighbor, and they start to look into things. And they eventually figure out they figure out who the body in the garden bed was and how and why he was murdered.
Okay.
So
Well, that one sounds fun too.
it is. So again, I don't know if it's just a standalone book or whether it's the start of a series. There's no real indication at this
Right.
point. But
yeah, all of mine, I think, are series.
Okay.
So,
and it was a quick read. I enjoyed it.
oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like a fun, quick read.
Yes.
So the next time I'm going to get together with Molly, and I'm going to do something that's totally out of my
Ooh.
bandwidth. We're going to read about light reads, like feel-good fiction.
Oh, okay.
You know, neither
Nice.
Molly or I are much on feel-good fiction, so that'll be fun to see how we do for that. But Kathy, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome.
We always have a lot of people that, for some reason, on YouTube, the cozy mysteries, like people want to hear
Popular.
about them. So it's
Yeah.
nice that you came and shared some good
thank
choices with us today.
I like them because they're very comforting. Like even you know there's a dead body and you know something's going to happen, but I don't know, maybe it's the conclusion of it all.
Right.
But
And they always seem to be, there's something lighthearted.
exactly.
Yeah, about
exactly.
them. So, well, thanks so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here with us today, and we will see you all next time.
Book Break is a production of the Greece Public Library, made possible through the support of the Friends of the Greece Public Library. Theme music composed and performed